Labour Party celebrating yet more by-election success at the expense of the Conservatives this morning. They've won seats in both Wellingborough and Kingswood overnight.
Yes, Damien Egan overturned a majority of more than 11,000 to take the Kingswood seat, previously held by Chris Skidmore. And a Wellingborough, Jen Kitchen replaces Peter Bone as a Member of Parliament after securing one of the biggest ever swings of Conservative to Labour votes. Let's go over to Alicia first, shall we? Alicia is in Wellingborough this morning. Alicia, obviously Labour very pleased about this. I was just looking at the numbers. Nearly half the people who voted Labour. That is very odd, given they overturned an enormous majority, normally an unassailable majority for the Conservative Party.
Definitely, and I think that's why everyone in the Labour Party is feeling quite so jubilant about today. I mean, two really big by-election wins, and we have to remember Wellingborough isn't even remotely a target seat for the Labour Party, and they've quite comfortably swooped that up today with the second biggest swing to them in a by-election ever recorded in history. Perhaps one of the most interesting things, though, is actually the collapse of the Conservative vote share here. They did have 62% of the vote, and that's now down to 24%, so a really, really significant collapse there. And obviously, in part, that is clearly due to the big amount of votes that Labour have swept up, but also we have to also remember the Reform Party, who took 13% of the vote here in Wellingborough today. So I spoke to Ben Habib, the candidate, about what this can mean for the future of reform.
Three months ago, we polled 5% in Tamworth and slightly less than that in mid-Bedfordshire. And everyone was criticising Reform for not really living up to its polling expectations. Well, yesterday, my colleague Rupert Lowe met our national polling figures in Kingswood, and I beat them by 30% in Wellingborough. So Reform UK has gone from 5% to 13% in 3 months. That's a massive step forward. Electorally, we're going to keep growing. We're going to build on this base. Remember, we're only 3 years old, you know, and I think by the time the general election comes, we're going to be firmly embedded in the electorate psyche as a genuine alternative party for which to vote.
Alicia, I mean, so Reform come third, but ultimately from the Conservatives, this is a bit of a catastrophe for them. What kind of messaging are they giving about why this hasn't played well for them?
Definitely. I mean, of course, in the run-up to these by-elections, there always is an element of damage control. The Conservatives saying that they didn't really expect to keep either of these two seats. The main reason that they're citing for this is that generally it is a bit harder for the government to retain seats in by-elections. It's normally a bit of an easier opportunity for opposition parties to come and sweep in and to take those seats. The second of which, and the one that lots of MPs are saying on lots of broadcast media this morning, is that lots of people just didn't turn up to vote at the ballot box. So lots of Conservative MPs this morning saying that lots of constituents here in Wellingborough who would vote Conservative and probably still will vote Conservative when it comes to the general election vote just didn't think that this by-election was that significant because we obviously don't have that long until there will be a general election, so this MP may well only be in post for a short period of time. So a lot of damage control going on there, and that is obviously very different to what the Labour Party's message is. They're saying that this just really is a flavour of what the country are feeling, and it shows that Labour are the party that the country really want in power.
Alicia, thank you very much indeed. Let's go over to Kingswood now and talk to TalkTV's reporter Alex Barker. Alex, the mood there in Kingswood, a strange seat in many ways because it's actually disappearing.
Yes, it is. It won't exist come the general election. So all the candidates who stood in this one will have to pick a new seat because this one is being redistributed between 3 others from the general election onwards. But yeah, going back to what Alicia said about voter turnout, it was 37% here. It was about the same in Wellingborough. And I have to say, speaking to the local residents this morning, not everyone was aware that they actually had a new MP. So yeah, a lot of people didn't show up to the polls, but the people who did, they told me that the reasons they voted were largely to do with the general election coming up and the sort of national picture. And now Pat McFadden is a Labour MP. He was leading Labour's sort of national campaign strategy. He gave a speech here just a few minutes ago, actually. You could probably see some of the Labour supporters behind me still. And earlier he told TalkTV that this is all good news for Labour ahead of that general election.
These are fantastic results for Labour. I'm joining you here from Kingswood, where we overturned a Tory majority of over 11,000 last night. And the result in Wellingborough was even more spectacular. So we are absolutely delighted. We've got two new Labour MPs that will do a great job for the areas who elected them last night. And these are really important results in a general election year. They can't be dismissed as some kind of midterm blues for the government. The election is soon. It could be as early as May, if not May, a little bit later in the year. This is close to the general election time. And so we're really pleased with the progress that we made last night.
So it's full steam ahead from Labour for the general election. Damien Egan is their latest addition to the MP's seats here. Conservatives are trying to stay as positive as possible, and of course you can't really extrapolate hugely what a by-election means in the big picture for the general election. We'll have to see what happens.
We will. Alex Barker in Kingswood, thank you so much. And earlier, Alicia Fitzgerald in Wellingborough.